Good evening. Welcome to yet another event of CIC. Today we are proud to host two very eminent authors. I have the proud privilege to present before you Venkat Ramasamy, who is a professor at the Ross School of Business, University of Michigan, contributing to innovation, strategy, marketing, branding, IT, operations, and organizational behavior. His scholarly work, over 40,000 Google Scholar citations, and practical ideas have earned him global recognition. In 2004, along with C.K. Prahalad, he introduced the idea of co creation in the bestseller The Future of Competition, reshaping value generation through interactive experiences and collaboration. His ideas evolved into transformative practices, leveraging digitalized engagement platforms and multi stakeholder interactions, detailed further in The Power of Co Creation in 2010 and The Co Creation Paradigm 2014. Venkat holds degrees from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania and IIT Madras. Put your hands together for Mr. Venkat Ramasamy. Please join us on stage. I'm equally proud to introduce Krishnan Narayanan, who is the co founder and president of Itihasa Research and Digital, where he studies emerging technologies and innovations. Previously, he was a member of the Infosys Labs Management Council. He is the award winning author of Against All Odds, the IT Story of India 2022, and Empowering India Ideas for Action by Scientists and Engineers in 2023, and has co chronicled one of the world's largest oral histories of Indian IT. Krishnan serves as a founding member of AquaMap, Center for Water Management and Policy at IIT Madras, an advisor to the Global Learning Council Switzerland, and teaches and researches at IIT Madras and its Center for Responsible AI. Krishnan holds degrees from IIT Madras and XLRI Jamshedpur. He is no stranger to CIC. We have hosted his books earlier. So, welcome. Welcome, Krishnan. I also welcome our chairman, Mr. Gopal Srinivasan, to join the authors on the stage and release their book.
I think Venkat and Krishnan, when I say Venkat and Krishnan, I mean the two sort of right and left hand wingmen of Professor C.K. Prahalad. So that's how we remember Venkat Krishnan. Yeah, but it's Krishnan. So now glued to see another Krishnan here. I think, Venkat's work in co creation is legendary. We actually had a project, if you remember, many, many years ago, 25 years ago, of how to co create a point of sale machine with the Kirana owners of Chennai. So it's wonderful to see that you've come to the new age, and we're all looking forward to how to practically understand what AI is going to do for us. Is it just a stochastic parrot, or is it something beyond that? We will find out today. Can it really reason, or can it simply mimic in a kind of probabilistic way? So that's where all of us are now confused with Satya Nadella's statement yesterday saying it's not having the impact or something to that effect, which also I heard from AI. So it could be hallucination. But we look forward to this. I know this will actually bring a lot of sense, logic, and practical meaning to all of us. I'm looking forward to today. Congratulations again, Krishnan and Venkat, on the book.
Thanks, Gopal. For making this event happen today. Of course, we are very, very happy to be here with friends and aficionados of AI. So, welcome to this event. Now, we get started with a presentation on the book itself. I just wanted to give you a very brief backstory, if you will, of how this book came to be. Right, Jugalbandi happened, and so I knew Venkat for the first time. I saw him in 2007-8 when he came to Infosys. Um, in fact, Chris Gopal Krishnan, I sort of organized the event there at Infosys, launched his book of course, and that was my sort of initiation and trying to understand what it meant in the IT context. Of course, Venkat had already uh, built a huge reputation around this topic of co-creation with his work with his mentor, Professor C.K. Prahalad, and so on. And he continued to do that with the subsequent books. Now, in the meanwhile, I left Infosys. I started Itihasa Research in Digital with Chris Gopalakrishnan. We kind of study emerging technologies, AI, neuroscience, etc. So I was kind of immersed in this AI world. And somewhere in 2022, we picked up the threads again. And the idea was simply, okay, you've done co-creation, you're studying AI. What does AI and co-creation mean, right? And so we kind of got together. Of course, one of the things with working with professors is immediately there are lots of papers that come out. So we published a few papers, uh, on the topic, and then there was this inflection point, this magical point in 2022, November, when ChatGPT got announced. And there was something different about it. It's the fact is AI has been in existence with us for a very long time, right? In fact, AI was coined in 1955, so it's not new. But there seemed to be something different about this technology, and why suddenly people embraced it in a big way. It seemed very different, and so we said, "What's happening? What is the?" So we kind of went down that rabbit hole, trying to understand what it meant. I also remember having one very important conversation with Chris around that time, where he said, "Look, I think what you guys are talking about is sort of co-evolution of intelligences," and that stuck with us. And subsequently, we kind of went down, researched, and out came this book. At the end of 3-4 years of collaboration, so we are very excited about it. Now, I will just leave with this one thought. Uh, I mean, having written other books before, there was something different about this book, in the sense that the subject was changing so rapidly. Right, by the time we write about a company, it's like we're finished. We thought we have done with it, and lo and behold, the company is disappeared, or it's pivoted. The website no longer exists, so you constantly have to keep changing what we were writing about. Uh, Hopefully, there some of the principles that we mentioned are time invariant, but the examples kept changing, and we are very happy that the book is out there for us to have this conversation with you. Yeah. So with that, let me request now Venkat to give you an overview of what co-intelligence is.
So first, thanks a lot to Gopal Srinivasan and of course Krishnan here for hosting this. Um, I don't. I'm used to having the laptop next to me. The laptop is by the projector there. Just given this setup, so I'm going to improvise now. I have to because I like to have it there and pause what I'm doing and interact with the audience, which won't be possible today. So I'm going to improvise. But that said, it's a perfect time to improvise because uh, when Gopal mentioned C.K. Prahalad, and he mentioned the kind of genesis of co-creation, where we actually started working from the ground up. So C.K. Prahalad was all about practices. So I'm going to now. This wasn't planned, but I'm just going to take a few minutes. I think that's part of my improvisation here, but it's highly relevant. Um, so C.K. Prahalad was my mentor, and we worked on this idea of co-creation. A lot of it came from the idea when the web 1.0 happened, and this is C.K. Prahalad for you. I was at his home, and he posed a question to me. He said, "Venkat, the web, all this stuff is happening now." And at that time, I don't know, anybody owned a Palm Pilot before? Palm Pilot or this Casio? Yes, we. But CK's question was, okay, this stuff's, like what would happen, like, so the world is getting connected now, but supposing all these devices also got connected and, things were smart connected, that's the kind of thinker he was. And he said, Venkat, I want you to imagine like 1 billion people have this in their pockets, true story. He said, what would happen? The world will still be the same, or like will it be just more linear extension, like he put it, of the same way in which we are creating value today, or will it fundamentally change? He said, anyway, think about it. I don't think there's anything I could think about. This is one of those questions like I can't even think about it, right? The reason I'm seeing this, and Gopal will appreciate this, he used to use a phrase called folding the future in. I think Gopal would remember that. And so he used to say that's not about looking in the crystal ball because we don't know. So he had another phrase. He was just full of these wonderful phrases. The other phrase was amplifying weak signals, which is what he was very famous for. Um, and of course, he'll bring his own thinking into it. And so we had lots of interactions at that time saying, what does this mean? When now people, for the first time, they can go to the web, they can access information. Okay, at that point, people said, hey, a lot of the information you can't believe on the web, etc. You might remember Yahoo and Alta Vista search, and we used to have all these search engines. And then, of course, Google became a dominant search engine. So his point was, okay, this is great, some information, people are smart connected now in some way. We have some products which are somewhat smart, etc. We have people building software. Then the cloud happened, where basically people could get information on tap, so to speak. Then the mobile revolution happened. The smartphone came about 2007. And then I said, oh boy, 7 years ago you asked this question. Of course, slowly people are picking it up. And then he unfortunately passed away in 2010. And that was the time in which we're still grappling with that original question, saying, okay, now people are creating now together with these platforms. And that was the idea of co-creation. How would people engage with technology and create something new together? But the fundamental question we had posed there was that uh, companies always, creating products and services for us, they have some notion of value. But as consumers, we have maybe a different notion of value. It comes from our life experiences. We look at a product, we think about, hey, what can the product do for me, etc. So we are always wrestling with this. There's this tension between how we as humans want to use products and services, what it wants to do for us. It comes from our life and our lived experiences. On the other hand, companies start with technology and they make all this stuff for us. And sometimes, it works, sometimes it doesn't. So somewhere like, how will the two meet in some way in which like we can have some input into the kinds of products and services? After all, we are the ones that are consuming on the demand side. So that was the core question actually in 2000 that he was like wrestling with, saying, okay, we have a democratization, like you put it, of value creation. And so I think with this evolution technology, things were changing. Okay, then we had mobile phones, the pocket, and so on. So things continued, and then 2017, I actually did a sabbatical in Koramangala in Bangalore with Nandan Nilekani and his team, and that was where they were developing UPI, which is now actually, uh, you know, amazing technology from India, right? In fact, the rest of the world is still behind. Every time I come to India, I like step here. When I go back to the US, I feel like I'm backward. Literally, it's just even today, okay. And so the ease with which you can pay, and you pay to people just with a QR code, just fascinating. But at that time, the technology is getting developed, and so that was an interesting experience for me to look at like this whole doing like what Nandan would call building all this at population scale, right, benefiting a lot of humanity. So I said, wow, this is fantastic, right? So really, we are really focusing on making people's lives better. And then when, like Krishnan said, AI happened, I said, okay, so now we have this thing called generative AI. And what struck me was that, oh, this is going to be very different. This is actually going to kickstart a new revolution. And one of the things that I felt instinctively, maybe because I've always looked at it from the perspective of humans and their experiences, which I've written a lot about, I said maybe for the first time now, this generative AI can truly help us bring our experiences to the table with companies and with other organizations, and so that we can maybe for the first time try to actually co-create better experiences, not just products and services, but better experiences, which was an idea we have talked about in the future of competition. But suddenly I felt that AI was this technology which really took our original ideas and you can actually now create together with AI. So a lot of the things we had before was like human to human. Yes, some mediation, you might use a phone, a platform of some sort. I had written about how platforms can help people engage and create and collaborate better. But I can tell you that after now experiencing AI for 3 years, it completely changes the game. It really allows us to come and be very creative because human intelligence, we are quite ingenious. Come to think of it, we only created AI, right? So I would imagine that we bring our creativity, our creativeness, our ingenuity, and so there is our human intelligence is very miraculous. But then there's all this narrative about AI. Yes, it deals with electronic neural networks, but uh, okay, sorry, electronic neural networks. And then people are saying, oh, it's like the brain and so on. So I just want to start off by just sharing a perspective. We believe the AI is a different kind of intelligence. If you want to use the word intelligence, yes, it certainly feels intelligent, but I don't think it's anything to do with human intelligence. That is at least our perspective. And then I want to also look at the glasses half full and not half empty. There are all these narratives about, AI will take over the world and so on and so forth. So where we really want to kind of take you here a journey, and of course we have only a short time. At least what I want to share is saying, what if AI wasn't here to replace us, but to really co-create with us? So to me, AI is a co-creator. It's more than a tool. Once you start using AI, and if we design these AI systems, that's up to us humans. It can actually help us create uh, better experiences for ourselves, uh, both at the individual level, at the community level, the societal level, inside the enterprise, and at the country level as well. So what we are actually doing is, this is just like getting started. And now, going back to where CK was, if he were alive today, I would imagine he would say, well, now the future of value creation is now unfolding, right, in these new ways, because that's kind of, he's always about folding the future in. Now, it's very hard to imagine the future, but to use this phrase, amplifying weak signals, that's what I'm going to do in the next 15, 20 minutes, just to give you a taste of what I believe is this next revolution, or what we can make it to be. Is not, notice the book is not called the AI revolution. It says it's a co-intelligence revolution. So what that means is, you have this different kind of intelligence. We as humans have our intelligence, but it is up to us humans to actually take this AI systems and make it work for us, steer it in ways in which we can bring our values, our culture, our lived experience of the world, which AI doesn't have. AI does not have subjective experience. So we as humans can bring that to the table, bring our context in which we have values, the way in which we want to use products and services, and together with AI, we can actually create better life experiences for us in our own life worlds, whatever be your sphere of life, whether as a consumer or as an employee, as a worker, whatever you're doing. Because when we wake up in the morning, we feel a sense of agency. We want to do something. It's very hard for us to not be active, right? So in that process of activity, what can we do? So so it's more of like, we're putting forth this idea that humans and AI can actually create new value together. Now, this is just early days. It's just starting. So it's an idea saying that if we do this right, we can build these platforms in ways in which this new value can be created. And so, so it's about human and machine intelligence working in harmony, transforming how we live, work, and solve the world's greatest challenges. So that's kind of a promise I want to put out, or at least as an inspiring thought, and seeing the glass as half full. None of us have the answers. We don't have the answers, but we believe, when we are looking at a lot of examples. So going back to what Krishna and I were saying, we actually went and tried to see examples that were very positive, where essentially, I'm trying to find now my pointer, so I can finally get to my slide. So we have over 100 examples in the book. These are actually just a subset of the examples. And I'm just going to pick about 3 or 4. That's it. Okay? In the short time we have, just to motivate some of the core ideas, and happy to then talk. And it actually spans over 25 ecosystems. You might use the word industry, but these days every industry is connected to every other industry in some way or the other. And I'm going to start with the first one there, called agriculture. Because when we were talking with Chris Gopalakrishnan, he said, told us, in India, if you look at agriculture, it says we're still going through industrial revolution 1, 2, 3, 4, all at the same time. Yes, things are advancing. But can AI actually create this new revolution where essentially we move from agriculture to the industrial revolution? How will it transform agriculture? So, in a strange way, we're going to start with agriculture, and I'm actually going to start with an example which kicks off the book. It's called Jugalbandi, and while we were having a Jugalbandi, the word Jugalbandi is actually captures the spirit of what we're talking about, co-intelligence, right? In Jugalbandi, what happens? We two people, musicians improvise, right? The only thing I want you to think about is, instead of two humans improvising, think of a human and AI improvising together. So think of Jugalbandi, but not between two humans, but one human and an AI system. And of course, you can bring another human into the Jugalbandi, right? And you can bring other many humans as a team, and so on and so forth. But just fundamentally, take the idea of Jugalbandi, but instead of making music with another human, imagine you're doing it with AI. That is the human AI co-creation I want to talk to you about. So now I'm going to switch my kind of narrative here and kind of tell you what is happening in the world. Okay, and we're going to roll back to the ChatGPT moment. I think there's a lot of light here, but hopefully you can see the slide in some fashion. I don't know if this light can be cut, the front row. Then you might be able to see the slides better. this is the original ChatGPT screenshot website. When it was launched, November 30th, 2022, you can see on the bottom left-hand side, ChatGPT existed, version 1.0, 2, 3. But for the first time, they introduced an interface where you can essentially, I'm sure, how many of you have used ChatGPT here? Okay, so you can type stuff. So it's an interface. And the reason I'm showing you the screenshot is, of course, in classic AI tech speak, they make it all very complicated, right? So it says optimizing language models. First of all, those three words itself, I think most people didn't know what it means, right? I mean, for a company to use the word model itself, I thought we academics were bad, okay? But they are saying optimizing language models. But I want to focus on the next two words, which is really what resonated with me for dialogue. Because go back to the Future of Competition book with C.K. Prahlad, there's a whole chapter, the second chapter is on dialogue as the basis of co-creation. Okay? So, because co-creation means, you got to interact and have dialogue. When I say dialogue, it's not just chat, text. Dialogue means just back and forth, right? So if you play on that idea, you can see where I'm going with this. It is we are in this world of where you can have a nice jugalbandi with the AI. So November 30th, 2022, ChatGPT was launched. Then something strange happened in India. So this was launched in San Francisco, and in about a week, somebody in Bangalore had actually, starting from Koramangala, where I had done my sabbatical, that's how I came to know about it, had kickstarted like a bunch of developers got together and said, hey, this is really cool. And at that time, they were working on something called Bhashini. Some of you may have heard of Bhashini, which is like government's language translation kind of service, if you will. It's a capability that the government of India is building. 22 official Indian languages, and there are hundreds and hundreds of dialects and so on. So they were working in language translation. So you got Bhashini, you got this thing, ChatGPT coming from thing, it's launched here, but I can download and access all of the stuff. And then there is this thing called OpenAI, which has this, Microsoft has this Azure service. Microsoft and OpenAI had a relationship, right? So they said, okay, we have this OpenAI stuff, which gives us access to this cloud service. We have Bhashini, we have ChatGPT, now they have this front-end interface. Can we build an application for farmers in agriculture, which takes this to another level? Because one of the most interesting things here is that you can now interact with the AI, right? It's amazing, and then it says something, some words fly off the page of the screen, right? And then you're able to interact. That's great. But a farmer's now going to go there and type, right? So they said, we have Bhashini, can people talk to it? And so I want to show you what happened here, where somebody built this application. And I'm going to play a short video. Hopefully the video works. And when you're watching the video, just imagine yourself as a farmer who you just can speak your language. You probably have no clue about what an internet is even today, right? But you can just talk to it, just like you talk to your fellow farmers. So that was the moment that really sparked this, and this is called generative AI and so on. Forget the fancy words. And Gopal reminded me not to use fancy words. So I'll try to refrain from them. But unfortunately, in some of the videos, you will see them using fancy words. But the basic idea is that for the first time, we can talk to a computer. Now, why is that important? If you go back to, if anybody has done anything computer related, somebody may have learned, I remember learning COBOL, Fortran, all these programming languages. The computer had a language, right? We learned the computer's language. We didn't learn our language. Then you learn control, alt, delete, function keys, and your fingers will get twisted after some time, right? So it's all this stuff. It's so hard to use. You got to learn all these things. And first you learn this key and that key. It comes this manual, this thing, then drop-down menus. Oh! Now, most people actually can't use it, right? It's we struggle with it too. Now, for the first time, you can just talk to it, but it's not just talking to it. The computer can understand what you're saying, and it can translate and do the stuff in this computer speak, in its computer world, and then get back to you, hopefully with something that you want, which is useful to you. Remember I said, we should start with our lives and then help the AI, or have the AI help you in a way in which is helpful to you. So that's kind of, I think, the underlying motivation these people had in a very simple way, saying, hey, if we can help this farmer, that'd be great. And if we can help that kind of farmer, maybe we can help 8 billion people in the world. Because, right, if the farmer can use it, do you think we can use it? What do you think? In other words, if somebody who has no clue can just talk and be himself, and he finds some value out of it, wow, I mean, to me, if you can do that, deliver value for that farmer, you can deliver value to anybody in this world, period. Right? Because you really have to make the stuff work in a very simple way. And so, uh, let me now play the video, but I want to actually play you Satya Nadala's reaction to it because he had obviously made a lot of investment in ChatGPT. He was very surprised that somebody in India would do this.
I was in India and just completely stunning for me. A demo I saw was a rural Indian farmer speaking in Hindi, expresses a pretty complex thought.
चाचा यू जुगलबंदी है यहाँ पे हम लिख के भी और बोल के भी कुछ भी जो हमें स्कीम चाहिए सरकारी योजना है उनके बारे में जानकारी ले सका.
So here's essentially someone who is in rural India using one of their of a local language, talking to a bot on WhatsApp.
The gentleman asked about a particular government program in Hindi.
मैं किसान हूँ, मुझे सरकारी योजना कैसे प्राप्त हों?
मेरा नाम जुगलबंदी है.
And a response came back saying, go to a portal and here is how you'll access the program. He said, look, I'm not going to go to the portal. I want you to do this for me. Think about what that meant, right? That basically meant
Things that we build can in fact make a difference to 8 billion people.
So I want you to focus on the promise. This obviously he saw a demo, then it became a pilot, and now they actually, they have a working version, etc. But it's like I imagine first when the internet came, right? Now we have a fully functioning web. So I think this will evolve from here. So focus on the promise. So what he's basically saying is, hey, this is pretty amazing because the farmer says, and by the way, it came back because the government has a lot of programs, and thanks to Aadhaar and thanks to direct benefit schemes here, right? You can actually, the farmer can open a bank account, and thanks to UPI can transact and so on. So, but the farmer doesn't know what he's eligible for, right? And you might go and try to find that out, and he's not going to do all that. So when he asks, it basically figures out where he is, which village he's from, what he's eligible for, and he says, okay, you're eligible, and then in classic style, it says fill out this PDF. He probably doesn't know what PDF is, right? In fact, even I have difficulty. I just tried to fill some PDF forms for the consulate. Boy, was it hard, right? Because you have to go into those fields now and do stuff, and then upload stuff. Then it says your photograph is too big. You have to shrink it. Highly complicated. So his response was very interesting, right? He said, like, okay, do it for me, right? So I want you to focus on those words. Do it for me. Now, later on, you'll hear some fancy people talking about agents and all doing agentic AI, agents doing. But fundamentally, it is, what if the computer can just do it for you? Like, fill the form, you fill the form. You want my photo? Here I am. Aadhaar? Yes, I have Aadhaar. So just do it. If you want Aadhaar, you want all the PAN number, whatever it is, right? You can fill it all. So just give me whatever I'm supposed to get as benefit, right? So what I'm saying here is that things are moving along. But imagine if it can be that very easy to use. So that is the starting point. Now, they obviously, speaks in Hindi. They have Bhashali, language translation. ChatGPT is trained on the internet, largely, from the West, right? It's ingested everything that humanity has produced. But in parallel, now, in fact, we were just at AI for Bharat yesterday at IIT. So AI for Bharat is now saying, hey, while ChatGPT is built in English and we can use language translation, why can't we translate it originally in our languages, right? But that means that you have to go and collect, that's what this picture shows, all of the different languages. So now they've been collecting, going and just asking people to speak, right? And so that you get all this new dialects data, and so that we can actually build like Indian language models. And then Sarvam.ai is trying to build like from scratch this foundation model for 1 billion people, and says we are on a mission to make generative AI real for Bharat. So all this is very happening. And since we were interacting with the folks in Koramangala, we realized that, hey, actually the government has now made this official. It's gone one step further, and it's pretty remarkable how much progress they've made. They rolled out an app called PM Kisan in like some 12 languages, and over 100, million farmer interactions were happening there. And people were actually now using it. The farmers are using it. But now it's not just the direct benefit schemes. Now the farmer's getting advice on crops and rainfall and what he should do in terms of his farming practices. So now you can see some values coming directly in terms of he's got the benefit. Now he can use that money to pay for fertilizers or whatever he needs to do. So that's kind of the PM Kisan. Original app was just more of this benefit, but now they have something else called Vistar, which allows the farmer to do a lot of schemes and so on and so forth. So I want you to now hear Nandan Nilekani talk about it.
AI is about data, and data has to be the right data for your context. And this is again a key difference in the way Indian we think about AI in this country, which is how do we use AI to make lives better? It's about actually using this to improve the capacity, capability, and potential of human beings, and therefore, how do we use AI to make lives better? And that's a continuous theme in all the AI work in India. Coming up now in multiple states is the Open Agri Network, which allows farmers to get access to information in the language of their choice and all kinds of information, weather cycles, crop cycles, etc. Again, another case of building AI at scale to help farmers improve their productivity and their markets and so on. So AI makes DPI better. In UPI, which does 18 billion payments a month, they're using AI to have voice payments. So you can see that the digital infrastructure we have is getting loaded with more AI and making DPI better. And this will only get better because as the data from these interactions improves the models, as the models become better in terms of reasoning and so on, this will only become better for people. So this is the cycle. So when you develop these kind of public systems, it's not about delivering a solution, it's delivering an infrastructure which keeps improving. And so that's how the AI in India is improving.
More than improving, it's just amazing. It's already quite advanced. Now imagine now farmers saying, हमको मौसी को 100 रुपया भेजना है, भेज सकते हैं? Like he's talking as if it was a human being. He says, हाँ, किस अकाउंट से लेना है? This is your balance. वो account. Maybe he might even point to the account. No click and all that. And then said, ठीक है, भेज दिया. Because in India it happens instantly, right? Amazing experience, right? Now imagine if you have such a simple experience. I think everybody in the US will want it. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Now, is it there fully? This is being now worked upon, right? You can see demos, you can see it working. You have to do this at scale. But the point here is we are doing it at population scale. We are doing it at speed, scale, and now we're increasing the scope of the impact it has. And by the way, DPI stands for Digital Public Infrastructure. Again, that's a buzzword, but basically an infrastructure, like I said, is being built here. Okay. Now, this is a public infrastructure. So in the book, we use this word called shared digital infrastructure. Say that's a general term. It can be public or it can be private, right? So this is ITC. So ITC has taken this network that's been created. You may have heard of ONDC also, Open Network for Digital Commerce. And it says, okay, these public tools exist. So ITC has built on top of it. What that basically means is now a farmer can chat, can do all these transactions, right? Has funds, can utilize it now, and it's connected to a marketplace. Okay, it's called MARS, right? Meta Market for Advanced Agriculture and Rural Services, where different people can plug in, provide the services, and then he can interact and figure out, which service might work best for him, etc. So you can see the power of this. It grows kind of exponentially as different people can now plug into this on top. But underneath it, everything is secure. It's biometrically identified. The farmer's land records. You can identify the farmer, the land records. He can actually share what his intent is, what he wants to this quote-unquote AI system, right, which can then give him some unique value. So I think there's a lot of advanced, not just thinking, like advanced doing, like Nandan always reminds. It's not just thinking, we're actually doing stuff, right? So this is kind of the power. So in the book, we started the example and we basically make the argument that we need to bring a completely new lens for value creation. I think just like we were in the previous industrial revolution, and then there are all these comparisons to electricity and so on. I don't like the electricity comparison. Electricity is a utility, right? And this is not like a utility. You don't open the tap and AI flows, or water, or like electricity comes in a power thing. AI is very different. You have to interact with it. I don't think we have any technology. I know people use all these different comparisons. I don't, personally, it's my opinion, I don't think there is a comparison to it yet. Okay, and there are some limitations of all these other things. But forget all that stuff. I'm now going to take just a couple of minutes to tell you what is this AI really about. The challenge is that, unfortunately, once you get into AI, the world of AI, it gets very technical. But I'm going to try to explain it as simple a way as we can, at least to have an idea of what is going to drive this next industrial revolution. What is the fundamental driver of that? Now, to do that, I'm going to now introduce another company without whom everything I said so far would not have happened, period. That company is called NVIDIA. Anybody heard of NVIDIA? Okay, few people here. Okay, so NVIDIA is a company that essentially went to OpenAI and it handed them this box, which was like this. Tech people are famous for these acronyms. It's called DGX1, whatever that means. But basically, he said, hey, you can actually build your AI models with this because it needs a lot of this computation, right? So AI needs data, like Nandan was saying, but you need the AI, the compute infrastructure to do it. So to cut a long story short, that's what they've been developing. And so much so that now you can actually take electricity as input, energy as input, and out comes what Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, calls intelligence. Now, he uses that word intelligence. In other words, so far we had the Industrial Revolution, we had the information age, now we are in the intelligence age. Now, what does that mean? I'm not going to get into is it really intelligence or non-intelligence, etc. That will be another hour. But basically, let's imagine that you have a factory. Imagine a factory where electricity goes in and out comes something which can produce intelligence. When you interact with it, it feels intelligent, right? So in ChatGPT, when all these texts come, each kind of word you can imagine that way is what's called a token. So the only thing you need to know is token for the next 10 minutes, and I'll just give you some examples, okay? So once you produce the token from this thing, that token can be a word, text, it can be an image, it can be a video, it can be an audio, and as we'll see as we go along, it can be even a protein, as we'll see. It can be anything actually, because you can go across all these different modalities. Now, that is very, very powerful. So imagine an AI that produces this stuff, and the point we make in the book is that's just an intermediate step. This is all you need to know. The token can then lead you to have this conversation with the farmer. You can lead you to be able to create images. Anybody use the Studio Ghibli and created some animation? Yes, some people have. So these are all tools available to us. I'm saying they're all powered by these tokens that come from this NVIDIA. And so there is a new factory in the world. We all understand factory, right? Physical factory, like car factory, cement factory, we produce physical goods. Now imagine that you have this factory, think of it like a data center, right? It's really being built in data centers, but its energy is going in and it's producing these tokens, and these tokens can then be converted to text, video, and then you can interact with those tokens and therefore produce new value. That's all you need to know. But this is totally revolutionary. The only way to know what it is to watch a video from NVIDIA, which is the most powerful way of understanding tokens. But before I go there, let me explain that this AI factory can build AI on the left-hand side, but then you as a human can interact with it. So it brings the AI and the human together, as we will see in some examples, and we can create better life experiences for ourselves as well. I'm just watching the time here. Okay. And what we are basically going to argue is that as you interact, like you saw in the example of the farmer, that can actually produce better life experiences for us and create new forms of value. And if we do this right, we can really do this at speed, at scale, and a lot of people in humanity can benefit from this process. So these new AI platforms does two things. It basically helps you build the AI system. It also helps us interact with it in these new ways. Okay, so let's now look at this video of how this intelligence is made.
This is how intelligence is made.
A new kind of factory. Generator of tokens. The building blocks of AI. Tokens have opened a new frontier, the first step into an extraordinary world, where endless possibilities are born.
It's built from tokens. You can interact with it.
Tokens transform words into knowledge. They turn ideas into videos.
Pixelated.
Tokens transform images into scientific data. They turn raw data into foresight. So next time, we'll be ready. And take us further.
So tokens are powering this autonomous vehicle.
Tokens see disease before it takes
Detecting
hold.
patterns in terms of diseases, retina, diabetic retinopathy.
They help us unravel the language of life.
Language of life, protein structures. That's why the Nobel Prize went to somebody, right? In terms of computational chemistry and biology.
Tokens connect the dots, so we can protect our most noble creatures.
And this is a great one, where the whale is speaking in whale language, but you can communicate to it because it takes your language, converts it to whale language converts it back to your language. So you can actually communicate with nature now.
Tokens teach robots to move like the masters.
And you can teach it how to cook. This is kind of a humanoid robot.
Peace of mind when we need it most.
Hi, Maroka.
And this may seem a bit futuristic, but
it's good to see you again.
Hi, Emma. We're going to take your blood sample today, okay?
Don't worry. I'm gonna be here the whole time.
So you could have an embodied AI that can also be your assistant. So these are just some examples of like the possibilities that exist, right? And it's happening in various ways. So what I'm going to do now is just take 5 minutes to give you some real examples and say, okay, this is all great, but how does it create real value for us in terms of our life experiences, and hopefully bring it home in some few examples. So very briefly in the book, we talk about these tokens, and this is basically digital intelligence, right? Not our human intelligence. And you can encapsulate many things in it. And you can think of it as like a living thread of intelligence that can drive, this is the most important part, the personalized interactive and interactions like we saw for the farmer and for all of us in this AI ecosystem. So anyway, this is kind of from the book, just saying this is really what is going to drive this co-intelligence revolution we're talking about. And you can think of it as like a connected tissue that's, it links all this intelligence across various, now I'm getting a little bit technical here, but across platforms, of course, people and processes in these new ways. But to really understand what it is, let's take an example. So now let's take a consumer example. And we use, in the chapter 2 of the book, we discuss the example at length. A company called L'Oreal. People heard of L'Oreal? It's like a cosmetics company. This example blew us away. So they have taken like these 12 AI LLMs and various other things. They have actually trained this on lots of data in terms of human beauty. So we're going to take an example of skin, right? So there's a lot of clinical science they have, beauty science as they call it. They work with over 1,000 dermatologists. So really taking now data in terms of a human body and saying, hey, how can it help us first figure out which beauty products are right for me, but as we'll see, go even one step further.
Behind this seamless experience, it's powered by a combination.
So they have an AI called Beauty Genius.
Gen AI, augmented
you just
reality,
interact with it on your phone.
Computer vision, and color science. We have integrated more than 10 different LLMs and a very sophisticated architecture to get the utmost personalized beauty routines adapted to.
So you can create your own beauty routine with it.
The Beauty Genius is capable of providing personalized diagnostic of both skin and
So you look at your face.
Personalized recommendations
if you have some
from over 750 skincare, makeup, and hair color L'Oréal Paris products, and personalized education curated.
Of course, it will match you with not a government scheme, match you with L'Oréal products.
You can also virtually try the product before you buy them.
Okay, so this is interesting,
Over
right?
the last decade,
So I'll just skip that. So basically, the last part is important. You can actually try the products before you buy. How cool is that, right? So lipstick, how do you look on the lipstick? It's what we try to do, right? We go there, then we try, but they won't allow you to try. There'll be some samples, and you may not have the color you want, and then you buy it, and then you might have to return it. So you can just try these products before you buy, and so that's interesting. But this example blew our mind in terms of what they're doing now, and they're now rolling it out. It's at the high end. It'll someday come down to us. They said, okay, what if we can take these tokens and we can do it and create, like that's an AI factory, but if you connect the AI factory, what if we give you a factory at home? This is actually a factory. Think of it as a factory. It's a product factory. It's just that the thing. It will make your lipstick every day for you. So this is not rocket science. It's actually happening. It's there in Estee Lauder brand. And it can do the foundation for you. But it's highly personalized. So you interact with it, and then you can talk to it, just like the farmer's talking, and talk to it about the kind of foundation you want today. Maybe you're going for some event, you want a certain look. It will interact with you, it'll make recommendations, it'll suggest L'Oreal products. But you'd say, okay, I want to actually have a certain color lipstick. You can talk to it, say what color, and then essentially when you hit the button, the information goes in here and it actually makes that for you.
Powered by artificial intelligence. Perso creates skincare, liquid lipstick, and foundation just for you.
These are the 3 things I have now.
Plus, it gets smarter over time. How does it work?
So it learns from
In
you.
the app, Perso leverages L'Oreal's Modiface technology to evaluate your skin. Then it assesses important environmental factors like pollution, air quality, and humidity.
Takes humidity.
Perso even
Chennai weather
considers
is
your
different
top
than
skincare
Bangalore.
concerns and priorities. Next, it engages its patented 3-cartridge system, using advanced robotics to dispense the perfect formula for you. Perso can even create personalized foundation using its precise shade finder tool. Want to create a signature lip? Perso can do that too. Or try color matching. Coordinate your lip with your dress, shoes, or the latest trends.
So this is not try on. You actually tell it what you want. You get the look, you hit, and then it makes it for you. And then you can take it to go.
So next time you're staring into your cabinet, ask yourself, could your beauty routine be working smarter for you? Now, there's an intelligent beauty device with L'Oreal's unparalleled expertise.
Okay,
Perso by L'Oreal. Personalized beauty.
So this one example is actually enough for us because there are many layers to this. One is that it's just not personalized. It actually is continuously learning and adapting with you. You interact with it, it learns. So where does this token come in? So what is happening is that when you talk to it, it is running in this AI factory, so to speak, imagine that way. And it's actually, it understands you, right? Remember, you're just talking in your own local language. It understands what you're trying to do, and it does all that language conversion. It knows what to do in terms of changing the product for you, and it makes that product and gives it back to you, right? So all you do is you just tell it what you want, and you get what you want. This is the kind of world we are going into, which to me is like huge, right? So this is a whole new world of value creation, nothing we've even experienced in the last 100 years. Absolutely not. And so these tokens are going to drive enormous growth. Now, according to some estimates, over $100 trillion worth of economy. 100 trillion, let me just say that. There are many people from Huang, all of them estimated this. So what we're saying is this is a completely new era where we can create all kinds of value, not necessarily physical products, is one example. It could be software, it can be services, it can be whatever it is, right? And I'll skip all the things. So there is a whole transformation happening of offerings. You can think of like the lipstick. This is an electric tractor from a company called Monarch, which we feature in the book, another example. It's a smart product. But just like this, here it learns from as it is basically doing its job in the farm. This is available only in the US right now. The US farmers in the large farms, they have sometimes 3 or 4 of these. It runs by itself. They just manipulate it from where they are. And it does stuff, it learns what it needs, it's connected, it actually knows what is required, it makes all the solutions, it then feeds it in there exactly what is required, just the right amount. So then there's less waste, it's less harmful for the environment, etc. So lots of benefits. So these are like the kinds of things that you can imagine. I'll just skip this in the interest of time. So that's the offering, but it's also transforming what's called the value chain. Now this is a really cool example from BMW. So just let's watch the video and I'll explain.
The world's industries are accelerating digitalization with over
$3.4 trillion
being invested in the next few years.
Now,
we at BMW
there's what's called a digital twin. You may have heard of it. It's a representation of the factory where people can go and interact.
With Omniverse and AI, we set up new factories faster and produce more efficiently than ever. This results in significant savings for us. It all starts with planning, a complex process in which we need to connect many tools, datasets, and specialists around the world. Traditionally, we are limited since data is managed separately in a variety of systems and tools. Today, we've changed all that. We are developing custom Omniverse applications to connect our existing tools, know-how, and teams, all in a unified view. Omniverse is cloud-native and cloud-agnostic, enabling teams to collaborate across our virtual factories from everywhere. I'm about to join a virtual planning session for Debrecen in Hungary, our new EV factory
opening in
2025. Let's jump in.
Or a Teams one.
Milan is joining.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Milan. Great to see you. We are in the middle of an optimization.
People can speak different languages, they can talk, interact.
Thanks. I'm highly interested. And I'd like to invite a friend.
Sure.
Hey, Milan. Good to see you.
That's the CEO of NVIDIA.
Welcome to our virtual planning session.
It's great to be here.
So this is a digital twin of the factory.
This is our global planning
And we're
team
not
who
just
are
having a
working
Zoom
on
call,
robot
we're
cell
actually
embedded
going to
digital twin.
make changes in the factory
Matthias, tell us what's happening.
because the factory is defined by
Just
software.
learned the production concept requires some changes. We are now reconfiguring the layout to add a new robot into the cell.
Okay, but if we add a new robot on the logistics side, we need to move our storage container.
All right, let's get this new robot in.
That's perfect. But let's double check. Can we run the cell? Excellent.
Milan, this is just incredible. Virtual factory integration is essential for every industry. I'm so proud to see what our teams did together.
So you get the idea here, right? And then you can reduce all this risk, right? So much, and get things right before you hit the button. And in the interest of time, I'm going to skip the next video, which actually shows you can then go and the engineers can actually immerse themselves in it. You can go in and you can actually move things around. It's just amazing, and it's so real. Sometimes they say like we're not sure if it's a simulation or it's the real factory, so to speak. So the point is that these are all things that are happening now. You can just imagine it's happening very, very fast. And then we have an example of Siemens, and same thing in terms of building a ship and so on. So now you can also interact with the data. I'm sure a lot of you use SAP. So SAP has a thing where you can interact with it, just like the farmer does. You can talk to it and say, hey. And this is just being rolled out. It's called Joule. So pull our revenue things, pull our revenue margins in Europe from last 6 quarters. You just talk to it like that, right? It goes and pulls. You don't have to figure out which spreadsheet to create, etc. I want to create a position for a store manager. You can go and do that. Job description, it'll write it for you. Okay. Show me logistic processes and review performance. I just want you to see the possibilities. Is it totally there yet? No. But imagine how the internet was in 2000 is how I want you to think about it. But it's going to happen very fast. So hopefully you can see here that all this new value you can create for the farmer, for you as a consumer, for the employee. It doesn't matter who you are. All this leads to new form creation, or also for a scientist. The last one I'll show you.
Similar to a streetlight effect, where the man is looking for his key.
So scientists trying to design new materials, chemicals, molecules. They can also talk. You can suggest different variants.
In the areas which are more convenient to explore. What AI helps us to do is to really expand the search space. We were able to screen millions of molecules. It's impossible to even imagine how much time it would take you with a wet lab.
With this agentic AI revolution that we're seeing, you can augment your own team with a team of AI agents.
We will spend time doing the clever, exciting parts of science.
This platform is a breakthrough factory. The next great breakthrough should be yours to discover.
Let scientists be scientists.
Yeah. Let humans be humans. This is basically what it is. So the point here is an important one. It used to take a PhD 5 years to do one molecule. And now, in fact, Google is now open sources. They've done 200 million molecules in 3 months, right? And that's where the Nobel Prize went to Hassabis. So these are all just examples saying that, hey, these are not like some, like something small change. This is amazing new set of capabilities that's being unleashed. So what we tell in the book is that, well, but it's not just about automation, and you can see in all these examples the humans interacting with AI. So there are 2 concepts in the book saying humans are going to be the loop of AI systems. In some cases, yes, you're going to be orchestrating the AIs, but you have to still manage them. Just like workers manage machines, now you're going to be managing AI systems. You're going to be architecting, managing, right? So ultimately, we are passing our judgment in terms of making decisions. AI will make recommendations. So think of it as essentially a partner, a co-creator. And then there are times where AI systems is in our loop, like you saw in the case of L'Oreal, right? Going into the, your place where you're doing your makeup, it's there. And, it may suggest something. So what I'm saying is it's a jugalbandi. Sometimes the AI will initiate something. Sometimes you as a human will initiate something. This is constant interaction and co-creation. So what we really think is that all enterprises are going to have become this co-intelligent enterprise, as we call it. So there's going to be co-intelligence. It's going to have various relative roles of AI and humans. It all depends on where you're applying it. But this is a whole new world of value creation, which is the focus of the book. And that's where like I said, we started CK Prahlad and I, and we said, hey, it's going to democratize value creation, where people are now going to have much more say in the value that's getting created. And we also saw this entity called Apurva.ai in Bangalore. And what it does is an AI that actually listens to these people, like you saw these farmers, and it just says, hey, what's your experience like? Just talk, say, oh, was the experience good today? You just keep talking. Imagine collecting all this stuff. Gopal knows. We used to do traditional market research. We used to do surveys and things like that. Now it's just real-time research. You don't have to, it automatically comes to you. You don't have to go to the customer to get customer experience feedback. It comes to you, period. The question is, how can you take all of this and then utilize it back? I'll just skip the video. And then the other thing is, yes, we are also going to be in the loop of humans in terms of their own lived journey experiences. So there's a lot of opportunity in doing that. I'll skip this example, but that's a cool one of somebody repairing a bike, and then you don't have to go and find a YouTube video; it finds it for you. And you just repairing the bike, it tells you what to do, what not to buy, etc. So this is already happening. And so what I'm saying is, if you combine all of this, if you just combine all of this, it is huge. And I'll basically end by saying that what we will hope to do next is to say, how will this help harmonize nature, economy, and society kind of with AI, right? And so we think there's a lot of potential there in terms of the future of AI, but future of work, future of development in terms of societal development, and ultimately maybe AI can help us solve some of this very challenging climate change issues, and there's some work going on in using AI to do this. And the last thing I want to say is that AI is making AI better. At NVIDIA, everything runs on AI. They use AI to design their AI. And so I think there's an interesting thing where it's going to completely change how we learn and totally transform, of course, education in so many ways. So with that, I just want to end and hand it over to Krishnan, who will share a little bit about how you can stay engaged with us if you found any of this interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkat. So, of course, it's very difficult to compress 400 pages into
yes, we did it in like half an hour or 40 minutes,
40 minutes presentation. But if you want to stay engaged with us, there are two ways. One, we have created what is called the COIN network, the Co-Intelligence Network, which is a virtual network that runs out of the Vadhvani School of Data Science and AI at IIT Madras. And so we encourage you to come and join us. And these are the 5 future offs that we would love to discuss with you. That's number one. The other way, this is a Substack that we have created.
Sorry, you can.
This is a QR code, so you can log in, read our thing, subscribe to our Substack. So we will be writing more about these various concepts. I mean, if you see this book, as you read this book, you would see that we have had to use some new language to describe this world, right? Life experts and creative experiencers and CCLOs. I mean, there are many, many words, but hopefully through this, we will unpack a lot of those words, engage with you and write. And then the last line, of course, we are very, very thankful. I mean, the incredible number of people who have helped us, who have been gracious with their time and support. Gopal, thank you so much. He very kindly agreed to give an advance praise for the book, generously supported us with this event. Chris, of course, pillar of support. A number of people from Chennai, Professor Kamakoti, and others, professors from IIT Madras and so on. So we are of course very, very thankful to these people. So let me stop here and open it out for some Q&A.
First of all, congratulations on the book release to both Krishna Anna and. Okay, you can hear me now? Little bit louder. Okay, little bit louder. So I think you touched upon this, whatever I'm going to ask towards the end, when it comes to nature and AI. So countries all over the world are now talking about net zero by 2070. So overall, do you think AI is going to help us move towards net zero or away from net zero on average?
Came from Geneva yesterday. This climate change conference.
Right. No, it's a great question. In fact, we end the book with an interesting concept called the co-intelligence Anthropocene. Right? We have entered.
Sorry.
We have.
So I should turn it off. Pinari, central phone. Sorry. Thank you.
We have entered this new epoch called Anthropocene. 10,000 years of Holocene has seen us flourish. Anthropocene is the first epoch. Now, obviously, technology and humans have led to this new epoch, but there is a we also believe that co-intelligence has this ability to solve it, right? And so there are a number of examples we give in the book where that is coming. But net zero, and let me just stop with this. Net zero is just one aspect. That's just 45% of the problems with respect to this. The so-called circular economy and solving for circular economy is 55% of the problem. So how do we use co-intelligence for both is an important thing to consider, and we do discuss some examples in the book.
Thank you so much, you both. Now, in the concluding kind of diagram you presented, all these constituents, economy, nature, technology, and society, but it is also working in an interlinked space of what can be called as transcendence, which has different names, divine or transcendence, the infinite, which is missing. And this today being is the yoga day. Now this intelligence, this co-creative intelligence, it is not just static. In what way it can be cultivated with, for example, practices like yoga. And speaking about society, all these variables are multiply complex. They are not just static but dynamic. Especially in society, given the fact today that technology, economy, everything is not innocent from a structure of domination. Therefore, the societal, everything has to be interrogated from domination to varieties of non-domination. So in what way we would have to engage in this co-intelligent evolution as part of a transition from domination to non-domination and violence to non-violence.
All fantastic. I'll just make some comments and then turn it over to Krishnan. Can you hear me okay? So this reminds me of this churning of the Milky Ocean, this battle between Devas and Asuras. My point is that there will always be bad actors, people who try to take AI in one direction. There will be other people who are going to try good things. Though, going back to your point, it's up to us to steer this in ways in which it makes sense. And there are lots of people trying to do that, like we're talking about these things. So I'm going to take that perspective, the glass half full and not half empty. So then there are lots of things in what you said, just a couple of reactions. So one of the things is that we are saying here that we need to understand that things are very relational, right? You use the word transcendence, right? One of the things we found, I didn't have a chance to show you the Apurva.ai video, is that it actually transcends all of the different functions. I'm taking a very simple example. In a company, there are different people, there are lots of silos. You may have heard the silos is what has prevented us from doing, because everybody is, silo is not a bad thing because there is a good part to it, right? You build specialty expertise in one domain, right? And that's what we have. Universities, you go, you get a degree. Somebody who's got a degree in psychology, probably some sociologist went and talked to the person, probably you can't have a conversation, right? They come from different vantage points. But AI knows all of these things, all these subject matters, right? So it can actually transcend, to use your word, if you have A, B, C, D, all these silos, you can actually transcend those because that's the power of it. But we have to incorporate, therefore, AI in terms of all these interactions. That's kind of what we are trying to do. And so these systems have to be designed. So AI has that capability. So how can we use that transcendental capability? Because the value is now highly relational. I actually have another book called Dynamic Relationality Theory, which gives all the theory of the transcendence. Happy to share that with you. It just got published, which is a companion to this. But that's goes deep into the philosophical aspects of this co-intelligence, right? And you raised some of that. The last thing you mentioned is that, yes, there is a human in the loop, right? You said, and this is about humans interacting with it. And so it's up to us to make the systems work for us. So in other words, I tell people, don't put the blame on AI, right? Humans will be replaced by humans who can use AI to help themselves, right? So it's really up to us to also, while universities figure this out, to really skill ourselves, be able to use this in very positive ways. And I end with a personal example of just sharing this. So when it comes to, like, for example, health, right? So I have some extended family members here. They're familiar with my son's health situation. But to put it in a nutshell, the problem is highly complex. It's from birth. It's highly related. But when I go to the hospital, the cardiologist will look at the heart and say there's something wrong. Okay, it's not beating properly. The lung person will say there's some respiratory issue. Everything stems from his gut. Now they're discovering the microbiome. I think you're catching my point, right? It's like the 5 blind people and the elephant. So, but the specialty is great, but they're not able to talk to each other. But actually what is happening now, and we didn't get into that example, you can actually have all these specialists that before couldn't talk. You can bring them around the same table, but AI helps them connect with each other because it will take one subject matter and explaining it in another way. So if you're a biologist, what does this mean for me? Or if I'm this organ specialist, okay, how will that impact this organ? Coming back to the health, that is what is happening today. And I think that's very powerful because we need people to be like system thinkers, right? We need them to think very critically. You say nature economy, these are very complex, right? But in our education system right now, everybody is very specialized. One of my students cannot talk to another student who has a PhD in something else. But actually AI can. But you have to let it help you, and you can ask it to translate. And I found it immensely useful when I type in something on Ayurveda. I was just explaining and say, hey, when I go to my Chinese doctor, because I have to use, by the way, all combination for my son. He uses acupuncture, tradition. He doesn't know what Ayurveda. It'll translate. Then I go to the allopathic person. He says, okay, I don't know all this is all gobbled. You go Chinese or Ayurveda, like tell me in like Western language, right? So then it will do. I have found it useful. I actually print out and I go and say, okay, this is the Ayurvedic medicine is having. This is the, and then now I'm finding that not that they're talking to each other, but at least he says, oh, it's okay, then what you're giving him. Otherwise, they'll say, replace that with this. And that has lots of side effects, and then it messes him up. So I think it can help us communicate. So I appreciate the use of the word transcendent, but I think AI can provide that transcendence and help people interact.
Sure. Sham, yeah, there is one here, then there is lady in the back, and then this person.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. That was actually a very, very positive conversation that you're trying to have about AI here. I'm a doctor, so whatever that you said absolutely made sense because I'm seeing parts of my job being changed that is on an everyday basis.
True.
And there is a lot about.
I'm a professor, same story.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And that is a conversation that I'm willing to take further. I specialize in AI and the future of medicine, so that's a different story altogether. I have many questions, but I limit myself to 2.
Sure.
One is a very, very common question, and I have never found a satisfying answer. I hope you can satisfy that.
No
I've
pressures.
I watched several videos of several professors. We are talking about all your Sam Altman, Swangs, and everybody skipped the data breach, the privacy, security of AI question. They skip it or they answer it, but I'm not usually satisfied with the answer. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. That's point number 1. Point number 2, something different, which I personally believe that AI is being moved into a hardware zone. It's been a software all along. We've been using it with phones. We have been using it with devices, and right now there are being hardware that is being produced. I believe true technological evolution comes at a point when AI has its own hardware to follow. And right now, it is a subsidiary that we use with the phone. Do you think that point of time, where do you think that point of time is going to come? Does AI is going to be used with its own hardware, or is it always going to be a subsidiary with a phone? Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I will comment on the second one, but I'll give the first one to Krishnan, but I will kind of feed it to him. There is a word I never used in this talk, just in the interest of time. It is called risk. First thing you have to remember is, the moment you go into co-intelligence, by definition, it increases risk, period. Why? In the old model, when you had a factory, let's say, producing quality, and, again, Gopal knows all about TQM and, Six Sigma, Japanese quality, right? When they do quality, if I give you one product and give this person the same product, we want to make sure it's the same product, right? Same quality. Okay, quality of product, you understand. But quality of experience, your experience is different, your experience is different. It's a huge problem. Plus, you're going to interact in one way, you're going to interact another way, you're going to prompt one way, you're going to prompt another way. So, moment you open up to interaction, like here in this co-intelligence, your risk shoots up. Not to mention cybersecurity, privacy, all those things. So, there's a whole chapter in a book which you never got into, right? Chapter 6, if you get the book, where we discuss why, when you think about this value creation, you need to manage risk. And this is very, very important. Everybody will have to manage risk. Even for me. Now, suddenly, if your students use ChatGPT, huge risk for me. First of all, they'll ask me something. It says, hey, ChatGPT said, Professor, you said this, but ChatGPT is saying this, blah, blah, blah. Before I could control the class, no ChatGPT, whatever I say, that's it, that rules. You know what I'm saying? Now, the whole thing's open. But actually,
they learn much better if you interact with them and you answer their questions. So there is a huge upside. But the downside is I have to manage all that risk. But with that, I'll hand it over to Krishnan, because he will talk to you a lot about risk management, which we have in the book, thanks to him.
Right. It's a very important question. So the American agency called NIST has in fact identified 12 very specific risks that are particularly accentuated by generative AI, right? And so, I mean, we do discuss a few of them, but I want to give you this, like you talked about privacy, copyrights, things like that. So, so for instance, Adobe, right? They have an image generation product called Firefly. Now, in Itihasa, when we produce images for our company reports, I don't go to ChatGPT and get the report out. I mean, the image of this thing out. Why? Because I'm not sure about the copyright violations that might come from here. Whereas the way Adobe has implemented their Firefly product is it's all based on licensed content that they have trained the generative AI engine. So you're assured that the copyrights are taken care of. For instance, that's one way of managing that. But there are also potentially some emergent risks that might come. You know, we discuss an example of a Chinese EV company. Now, their strength was that they allowed the customer network, right? So more than 50% of their sales comes in from customers recommending their products. But the same network, which was so powerful for them, suddenly, you know, when there was an issue with some accident that happened, one set of customers published a video which said one thing, and then there was another. You know, there was a sort of conflict that happened between two customer groups. So in a way, the company has to navigate some of these emergent risks as well. So there are many of these. So risk, as he said, so that's why we call it risk managed value creation, right? So every moment is an opportunity for value creation, but every moment is also an opportunity and a need to manage those risks.
The second question is also a good one. So very quickly, so yes, absolutely, we need new hardware. Now imagine the farmer. Farmer now still has to use the phone, right? Farmer sitting there in the paddy field doing stuff, and he's having some thought. Right there, you have to be able to capture it, no? So let's say he talks, but something has to capture his voice. Let's capture, you spoke somebody's think of pin or something where, okay, it can take different forms, but we need that. Or you might have glasses, right? And then it's looking at all the things in the thing. So we need some way by which we can do that, but something that is much more natural, where I don't have to go to a screen, right? So it is there, it's ambient. So presumably this now hardware will also become like that. It could be in his shirt itself or his lungi, whatever it is, dhoti I mean, right? So my basic point is that, will that happen? We don't know, but these are all what people are working on in terms of how can we embed this in a much more natural way. So he does his work, goes on doing his work. He can share the experience. Hey, this is not working, that's not working. He's not talking to somebody. He's just talking. He is capturing it. And it's not rocket science is happening. People are actually doing things like that. So, and with the glasses, you can just talk. And if you're okay wearing the glasses, right? So the glasses can help you do that. It has intelligence. So I think all these, you're right, there will be different kinds of hardware form factors, but that should be natural, right? A more natural interface. So right now, you're correct, the existing stuff comes in the way in terms of interaction.
If I can add one, there's a very interesting example we came across called the AI grid in Japan. Now, this is where, they're partnering, so NVIDIA partnering with SoftBank, right? And using the telecom networks. So imagine now AI is available throughout the country. Okay, as an example in India, but AI is not available. It's available throughout the country. And so the example there would be the next time you want to figure out there is something wrong with your manufacturing line, you just ask your factory, hey, how are you feeling today? And the factory speaks back to you. Okay, imagine this. It says, I think my line 2, I'm sensing some problem. So that's the power of fusion with hardware.
You also need the communication network, is what you're saying.
Communication network and so on, yeah? That will come. Yes.
Yeah. A few more.
So, yeah, Krishnan and Venkat, first of all, it's amazing book. So thank you so much. I've gone through quite a bit of the book and the use cases. They've been very interesting. And also the concept of co-intelligence is really fascinating. So just my question is more around co-intelligence itself, right? There are two spectrums broadly, right? There is the current, if you take some of us who are already in our own professional careers, we do use chat gpt, but when we're working, we're so used to doing things on our own, right? We are creative people by ourselves, and our work is done in a certain fashion. We're so used to it that we've been doing this over the years. We do use chat gpt when we are relaxing to really understand what it is, and maybe engage with it because everybody is using it.
Right.
So how do I build this culture of co-intelligence on the already existing workforce, or people who are so used to being intelligent by themselves and not using the GPTs of the world? And the other spectrum, the youngsters of today who are born with the digital, in their hand, and chat GPT, like you said, in the classrooms. How do we tell them, right? Stop just listening to chat GPT and also start thinking. So is there is there a course? Because, there are courses where you can learn LLM, you can learn AI.
It's all technical stuff.
Yeah. You can see and understand use cases. But what is this that you need to train people on to make them really be ready for this co-intelligent world that you're talking about?
Fantastic. I'll just make a few remarks, hand it over to Krishnan. So the first one is we professors are notorious that we know it all. Okay? I think Nadal has a great quote. He said we should move from know it all to learn it all. But there's a big chasm there, like you're saying. So the first thing for me also is the same thing. No, I'm just being very honest, right? You go to this like, okay, what is it going to tell me? Your first reaction. Now, what if I told you that it'll make you more intelligent? Then you might say, I'm interested. Or make more, because you think you're already intelligent. No, you'll be more intelligent. Don't say it's going to make you irrelevant. And actually that is true. Because once I started interacting with it, I found my productivity going fast. I just told you I wrote the theory book. By the way, I have another book coming out already, building on some of these themes, because it was very hard to do that. But every day with all these questions, there's new things. So you can be a creator. Right? You can create whatever you want. You can create art, you can create this. In my case, I'm creating this kind of content. So anybody can content create it. So what I'm saying is once you start seeing the power of it, you say, hey, it's my thought partner. It is actually helping me think. And actually, I don't tell people I use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a co-author of this book, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is it helped us a lot. I think Krishnan will say, right? We use ChatGPT in this, right? It can go do research for us. It's like having a research assistant, right? You can do deep research and go give you a 100-page report. Then you put that report back into ChatGPT and say, no, give me a quick summary, right? And then, we are writing about this. How will this relate to this? So once you start seeing it makes so many connections, speaking of the transcendence, they make connection A with B and C. So it's very powerful. So that's the first point. Second, I had asked this question for myself in terms of my class, the other part of education, saying with students, how do you do it? So I did an experiment now, and next year, hopefully I'll be doing it. So in our universities, up to the professor right now, I know there are universities where it's banned. It reminds me of, by the way, at one point in time in our university, we banned laptops. It might seem very funny. And then we said we cannot use the web. We can't trust anything on the web. So we'll get over this now. But the point is, how do you use this? Because this is a little bit different. It's not just getting information. It is acting like a professor. You know what I'm saying? So I feel threatened. So I did this experiment now. I'm going to scale it. I told every student in my class, and they were shocked the first day, you can use ChatGPT. In fact, if you don't use it, I'll fail you. So they were all shocked because right now at University of Michigan, there are only like 10% of the faculty that actually use it and actually make it as part of every daily activity. But then I figured out like, oh no, why did I do this? Because how do I evaluate them? See, before you'll say I evaluate them on the answer they give. So this is what I have learned. You now have to evaluate them on the questions they ask. It's the exact opposite. In education, we say, I'll ask the question, you answer, no, you didn't answer anything. This is exactly flipped, opposite. Then I found, when they ask a question, if you give the answer, they are ready to learn. You say something else, lecture, this thing, they have their life, they are doing some soccer, something else, whatever, right? They're not learning. So the best time to really get the student to learn is when they ask the question. So when they're asking the question to ChatGPT, they like asking question, it gives an answer. Now you have to say, what is the question you're asking? So I had to do this thing in terms of individual questions. So I put them in teams to answer that question very quickly. And then say, hey, you ask the question to GPT. Hey, you in the team, you ask the question to GPT. Now you meet together as a team, right, for half an hour. I had those team assignments in class. You meet, you share your ChatGPT outputs. Oh, ChatGPT told me this. So you figure it out, 5 people as a group. I want only one team paper, right? You know what I'm saying? So they learn to each use ChatGPT and figure out this thing and then say, no, I asked it like this and I asked like this. Then they're defining the problem better, they're solving the problem better. And now, then I said, how do I grade them? Because we have to grade. So what did I do? I went to ChatGPT and it said, hey, how should I grade this? So I put all this into ChatGPT. Now I built an agent now, which I have. This is why I'm going to now launch it next year, where it will automatically grade and evaluate, but I told it how to grade. So it's not like I had to teach it how to grade that team output. Now that I have that, we'll see how it goes. I can scale it. I can do it with, I have 120 students next year taking it. This is what I'm going to try. So stay tuned. We'll write it in a Substack.
Right. But if I can add just one other point, I think in a enterprise context, the way we introduce co-intelligence into the enterprise has to be deliberate, thought through, like very thoughtful way that we need to introduce, because we cannot allow. I mean, a lot of companies are worried about, you can't take my company information and put it into chat GPT. So it can't be left to just any individual to figure out on their own. In your personal life, you could do that, but there are risks with putting this information out. So are there corporate deals that you can have? How do you provide this? We call something called the co-intelligence knowledge environment. So how is this co-intelligence knowledge environment available throughout the organization? So I think there are, and I think fundamentally it's also a mindset shift. So how do we train people to look at this, right? How do we? So like the Apurva example that he gave, it's like another entity that is part of a digital entity, which is part of my conversation. We should be able to deal with digital humans going forward. So I think there are lots of other things, but yeah.
And you have to make them use ChatGPT because you don't want to outsource your thinking. So you want to teach them to think critically, right? Creatively, collaboratively. And this is why I gave the example of what I'm trying in the class, so that they become more creative, they use these systems. Of course, when they go in the world, the company will expect them to use it, right? And so we have to figure these things out. But that's why we are humans. We can figure these things out. Yeah.
I'm looking at Molly, so this is the last question.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir, my question is relevant, specific to physical product product experiences. Okay, physical product experience, end user physical product experiences. Boeing and Airbus have been building aeroplanes after simulations. They actually take orders before they actually even build the new model, right? And we've seen examples where 737 is a classic example where it basically failed. And the L'Oreal example that you showed is what Asian Paints has been doing all the time. They mix 3 different colors and you get you get your own personalized color. So where is real value in these physical outcomes?
Yeah. So I'll take the Asian Paint example. I used to live in Chennai. So I went to Asian Paints. It's still the same, like you said, right? Or even in the US, I went to Lowe's recently. We had a painter house. You go and you say something. You get the color, you paint it. And you say, no, that's not what I want. So it's not the same, is what I'm saying. There's no way to communicate to it what you want. Imagine if I can take pictures and show it, this is the color I want. And you reverse map it. And then they can take this and make it for you, which is where now Lowe's has introduced this app. You can take a picture of what you want so that you minimize all this risk that you have. You come, you paint. The 1 coat will look 1 color, 5 coats will look another color, etc. You see what I'm saying? So they'll ask you, how many coats are you going to put? 3 coats. So there's a lot of intelligence you can build into the system. Just to take your Asian Paint example, now Asian Paints will start doing this, and Lowe's is doing that in the US. So what I'm saying is that's what we're talking about here, where you can now interact with it, and you want to see how your room looks. Even before you buy, it may look like this, but when you suddenly paint a whole wall, is different than you paint one inch square. So you can paint it, and then the next wall is another color. Hey, will this clash with that? So you can actually take a picture of your home. I'm not kidding, it already exists. You can then look at the color and look at that color. So we are talking about a much more, a more contextual, more meaningful experience where, all these soft things that we worry about, right? That I think as humans, that's what we want to do. And it's very hard to objectify it. Whereas now you can, because you can talk in this way in your language in a very loose way, and the AI can understand that. And it will do the thing that you need so that you can now get a better outcome. That's kind of how I would respond to that.
Thank you.
I think today we have, just today morning, there was a huge article on have we stopped thinking after artificial intelligence came into being, and are we outsourcing our intelligence to, the machine? So there are a lot of other questions we need to ask about the ethical use of AI, and will AI take over? That is the question foremost in the minds of most people, whether it is the machines which are going to take over human beings. So we'll leave that for another conversation, but thank you very much. The takeaways I take is we will have to build our own intelligence systems. It is co-creating intelligence, but our intelligence. I mean, in some of the videos, there was a very condescending tone. Oh, the farmer. I mean, as if he doesn't know anything. He's been farming for, generations and generations. And he probably knows, and he's got much more intelligence. So we'll have to build and co-create something more useful based on his intelligence. And we will have to do that. And we are glad to see so many Indian companies now engaging in using the platforms which have been developed elsewhere, but developing and co-creating useful uh, applications which will help us improve our lives. Thank you very much, both of you, and you're welcome for your next book, which you said is already ready, and CIC will be the appropriate platform for you to launch that, and we'd be happy to do that. Thank you very much. And just announcements about the next two events. We have a completely different genre next week, which is the truth on your plate. This will be a different experience. I think gourmets who are here and connoisseurs of food, I'm sure you'll be here to listen to Chris Ashok and Pradeep Chakravarti. The event is called The Truth on Your Plate. Following that, we have a completely different, we take a jump into delimitation and states reorganization. That is on July 5th. So 28th June and July 5th, the venue is the same. So we would hope to see all of you. Thank you very much. So thank you very much, and continue to support the CIC. Thank you.